Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Classroom Natural English. I'm Mike.
And I'm Jaylin.
We're really happy you're joining us today, whether you're listening while driving, walking, studying, or simply relaxing at home. Thank you for spending these minutes with us.
Today's topic is something that applies not only to learning English, but to almost every aspect of life.
Exactly. Today's episode is called Why
Why
Consistency
consistency
Beats
beats
Intensity.
intensity?
Why do we mean? Well, Jailin, let me ask you something. Have you ever started something with a lot of excitement? Maybe going to the gym, learning English or some other languages, probably reading a book, and after some weeks, you simply stopped. Have it ever happened to you?
Oh, of course, every time, absolutely. I think we've all been there. Sometimes we're incredibly motivated. We study for 3 hours in one day and then nothing for 2 weeks. That's something very common for every single activity. And not only for me, I would say, but for many other people.
Yeah, I guess that it happens to everyone. I mean, I have met lots of people who are, very intensity at the beginning of the year. They register to some activities, especially the gym. I guess that the gym gets really full at the beginning of every year. But then eventually many people stop, arriving and they start canceling, or for many reasons they just stopped. And this is what we know as intensity. So doing a lot for a very short period of time, like I don't know, like 5 hours a day and practicing many things with intensity, but for a very short period of time. But consistency is different. Consistency means showing up again and again and again and over again, even when you don't feel like it, because I think sometimes even us don't feel like doing something. I like to study some other languages, but then I feel like I'm not gonna have the results I want. But then I remember you have to be, constant in whatever you're doing. So, and this is how we feel.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. I have been through many situations. One of them is going to the gym. I think it was very complicated to start that habit for me, but what you mean is very important. Consistency is key for every single activity that we do every day. And I have one question for you, Mike. Why do you
Okay.
think people love intensity so much? Is there something that, I don't know, a quality that you would say, this is why they love it so much?
That's a very interesting question. I think it's because it feels productive. Many people feel that they are doing something for a changing, and since they are doing lots of different, I mean, they take long time studying, or they concentrate doing something for a long period of time. They feel that they are being productive, right? When they spend 5 hours studying, or when they spend a long hours at the gym or doing some other type of activities, they feel as if they are making huge progress. But actually, our brains do not always learn that way. We learn by consistency. We learn, by concentrating and being disciplined and insistent, in what we are doing.
Mm.
Learning isn't a sprint. It's not like a race that you are going to be the first one, right? That you had to end up learning something before some others. Because at the end, what matters is what you are actually, acquiring, what you are actually learning. It's much more like planting a tree. You water
Mhm.
it a little
Yes.
every day, and not 50 liters once a month. You take your time, you take care of this tree.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely love that example. I think it is like that. You need to water every single activity day by day, right, with little actions, because sometimes growth is usually invisible at first, right? You can't see the results immediately. It takes time to see huge results, right? In the long run, and eventually you're going to see results, but it's not possible for many people to notice those results day by day. But maybe they are going to notice them like after a few months, and they are going to see that everything has changed. So I could say, I mentioned that I started going to the gym. And at the beginning, of course, I used to look myself in front of the mirror and I would say, oh my gosh, I mean, I'm still like I used to be like 5 months ago. But
Mm.
then, day by day, I started noticing little changes, and that actually cheered me up a lot. I would say that. So, but it takes time, right? And well, eventually you can see again that everything has changed from the moment you started, and that's amazing.
Exactly, yes. And if we let's bring in, well, let's bring in this to English or to whatever you are doing, especially if, this podcast is dedicated for people who are studying English or who finished our program, our national English program. So imagine two students.
Mhm.
Student A studies 5 hours or 6 hours a day every Saturday, and student B studies 20 minutes every day. So, in your opinion, Jailin, who do you think will improve more?
Well, Mike, totally the second one, right? Because English is a language that needs constant exposure. So if you don't practice it, if you don't practice it constantly, like every day, at least 20 minutes or 15 minutes, eventually you're going to forget it. And I think that this is very important, not only for English, but also for many other languages. But again, we are talking with some users that have finished the program. So you need to be constant, right? You need to be consistent as well with well different activities that are related to practicing your English. Basically, you need that constant exposure.
Exactly. And languages are built through repetition and to be, exposed to the language, as you mentioned, to be in contact with the language, and that everything counts. Maybe listening to some podcast,
Mhm.
reading some books, magazines, and also
Yeah,
obviously speaking, speaking and using the language in real context. Anything that you do will help you in the process of acquisition, listening to any type of material. And nowadays, I think we have lots of resources. Something that probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we didn't have. Nowadays, you have
mm,
access to lots of different type of material on internet. You have access to lots of videos in YouTube, tutorials. You have access to some, digital books that you can download and read. And I mean, there are not excuses for all of us to be in contact with the language. And this is something that will help us to improve little by little, but not with the intensity like you have to finish right now, but with consistency, right? This is the real point, little by little,
totally.
right?
I totally agree with you, Mike. It is like that. And as you said, there are many resources now. I mean, in the past, it was really complicated for many people to have access to resources. But now, even on TV, if you like to watch series, I don't know if you like to watch series. Honestly, one of
Yes,
my
of
favorite
course.
ones is Friends.
Yeah.
So I think that that's just an amazing way to put and practice your English by learning some vocabulary as well. It's just an amazing series. Have you ever watched
Yeah.
it?
Yes, I have many times, and I'm still watching it. And I remember the first time I watched these episodes, I didn't understand much. I remember that I watched some of the episodes and I listened to the audience, laughing about some jokes, and I didn't
Mhm.
understand what the joke was. And then eventually I started to understand, but it was because I watched over and over and over again the different episodes. I guess that there are like about 10 seasons or more, and I watch them
Yeah.
all. And nowadays I can say that I understand everything I watch on TV or TV series or sitcoms or any other type of material because of that, because I have been exposed to this particular type of material, and eventually you start understanding more and more. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So as I said, for example, well, some people can have the possibility to watch series, right? Maybe not, of course, spending all of their time watching series, but they have other options, like you said, reading books. And now we have different platforms in which we could listen to music, right? Any kind of music you
Mm-hmm.
like. And the key is to be exposed, right, to the language.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically the key. And for this, Mike, what are some simple habits that you think people can start today?
Okay, that's interesting. Well, I think that nothing's so complicated. Listening to one podcast once a week, once a day. It shouldn't be
Okay.
so long. Like I mean, something that you listen and that will help you, right? In any type of topics, Also tutorials. I enjoy watching tutorials about different type of topics in English, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and also maybe reading one page, reading the news or the magazine. That, as I said before, there
Mm-hmm.
are lots of applications that you can download and to your cell phone, and you have access to
Yeah.
lots of different type of topics. And also probably learning one expression a day, a single expression that you learn that will
Mm-hmm.
help you a lot. Um, Maybe watching one short video, speaking to yourself for 5 minutes, even if you believe that this is kind of crazy. But if you talk to yourself every day, that activates your how to say your direct thoughts in English, and that is
Mm-hmm.
going to help you to become more fluent because you are actually
Yeah.
connecting to the language you want to improve. And if you think about it, fluency, it's about thinking and speaking in the same language, right? So if you get used to think and talk to yourself every day, eventually you're going to be very spontaneous whenever you are in the middle of a conversation, whenever you are, interacting with some other people, and that would help you a
Mm-hmm.
lot. These
Mm-hmm.
tiny habits, seem very small, very maybe not like as we mentioned, with that kind of intensity, but this is going
Mm-hmm.
to help you to improve. And after a year or maybe less, maybe 1 month, 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
that become enormous.
Thank you so much, Mike. I totally agree. And one of the things that I actually used to do when I started learning English was basically speaking to myself. And I know
Mhm,
that,
mhm,
as you said, it seems kind of weird, but it is something that completely helps. And to get confident with the language, which is the most
mhm.
important thing, to put
Yes.
the phrases and the vocabulary you have, to put them on
Mhm,
practice, which is the most important thing at the end of the day. And the best part of all what you have mentioned is that those activities are very realistic. Most people
mhm.
actually have 15 or 20 minutes, right?
Yes.
And most people, well, some people have different excuses, but you know what? There's no time for excuses. Every single person at least has 15 minutes or 10 minutes to put on practice English, right? To use
Mhm,
the language. Even if you talk to yourself in front of the mirror or you just listen to some podcasts like
mhm.
this one or maybe another one. But yeah, most people actually have 15 or 20 minutes. Definitely, we could say that.
Yes, it's true. And something that you just mentioned is a very common excuse I had heard in many students, many people. They come and they say, Mike, because you know what happened? I don't have time. I have to work. I have a lot of things to do, and I don't have time to practice. But actually, here you have to think about maybe not practicing the language, but using the language, right? And while reading, while listening, while watching a movie or TV series, you're actually using the language in real context, right? And that something curious is that this does not only apply to English, it applies to many different type of areas in our life. It applies to relationships, to health. If you want to
Mm,
be in good condition, you have to be fit. You want to
yeah.
be fit, and you have to be constant, right, in what you're doing. If you're on a diet, you have to be disciplined.
Mm,
Also with money, if you want to save money to buy a car, the car that you always dream about, or something that you just want to buy, you have to be,
mhm.
you have to have this consistency in order to save the amount of money you need. With careers, professional careers, right? You have to be consistent in what you are doing. So if you think about it, it applies in every single area in our life, in personal growth as well.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I think that small daily choices create extraordinary results in the long run.
Hmm.
Nobody, let's be honest, nobody becomes fluent overnight. No one becomes healthy overnight. Everything takes
Hmm.
time. And that, I think, is the principal issue, right? The main issue. Because most people think that they are going to get results from one day to another, and that's
Hmm.
quite
Hmm.
impossible. And
It
I know
is.
that somehow that creates anxiety as well, but don't get anxious. You're going to get the results only if you're consistent, which we mentioned, right,
Hmm.
for many times. That is the key for every single activity. And well, everything takes time, let's be honest.
Yes, everything takes time. And as you mentioned, many people get so anxious, they want results from one day to another. but we had to remember that everything takes time. For professionals, I usually tell them, do you remember when you were a student? Let's say when you were
Mhm.
studying medicine, you remember it was not so easy. It took you a long time. You had to prepare, read, memorize a lot of things. It was not just from one day to another. And this applies to every area in life. If you want to learn how to play a musical instrument, for example, or if you want to, I don't know, learn any type of skills, everything, needs consistency, needs to be there to do it and to repeat over and over again. There is a quote I really like, and it goes like
Okay.
this: Success isn't built in a single day, it's built by showing up every day, every single day, showing up and doing it every day, and
Mhm.
practice doing it over and over until you start seeing the results.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I think that, well, we would say that that's the biggest lesson, right? And maybe that's the biggest lesson. Don't wait until you have lots of time, because that's not going to happen. Let's be honest. I know that
Mhm,
most of the times we are pretty busy doing different activities during the day, and we have a fast-paced lifestyle in
mhm,
some
mhm,
situations, but
mhm,
I mean, use your time, use the time you have, which is the most important thing. Even if you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and so on, it is important for you to use that time in order to practice your English. And in
mhm,
different ways, you have many options nowadays. As we said, we have many resources on the internet, and uh, wow. I mean, we could put on practice our English in many different ways, right?
mhm, mhm.
And it wasn't like that in the past. So use the time you have.
Yes, use the time you have. Do not wait until you have lots of time, because that probably is not going to happen. There are lots of people who say, I'm going to wait until, have more time. And
Yeah.
definitely that is not going to happen, because as you mentioned before, we are living in a fast paced, life,
Mm.
or times. And it's we are full of different type of activities, and probably you're not gonna have like 2 3 4 hours just to start studying something new. So use your
Mm.
time wisely, and it's not
That's
that
it.
you have to do it in a specific moment during the day. Specifically talking about practicing your language, in this case English. You can do it at any time, right?
Mm.
And but before we finish, remember, progress isn't about doing everything perfectly. Many people are afraid of making mistakes, and this is the reason why they stop doing it, because they say, "No, you know what? I always make mistakes. I never understand." But at the beginning, we always make mistake. I mean, no
Mm.
one is perfect, and by making mistake, you can learn. I mean, we had to make mistakes in order to improve and to know that you were mistaken. So it's important to make mistakes. So it's not about being perfect. It's about doing something, consistently.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Mike, for mentioning this, because I think that many people have been through the same situation, right? They think that making mistakes, I mean, uh, somehow goes against their process, but it's not like that. It's actually helpful for their process of learning that language, right?
Hmm.
Mistakes are part of the process, so you have to accept them, and of course we need to correct them, and eventually we need to improve. We need to improve. That's the goal, right? That's
That's
the
the goal.
objective. And well, if today's episode encouraged you, share it with someone who's learning English. I know that this process is quite overwhelming in some situations. It has been overwhelming for me when I was learning English. Definitely, I could say that. But it is a process that I'm still enjoying,
Hmm.
even if I can speak English, and even if I'm having a conversation with you right now, Mike, I'm still learning many different words, many different phrases day by day, and it's a process that I think it's not going to end. It doesn't
Hmm.
have an ending, right? We are not native speakers, and I think that every day we learn something new. And
Exactly.
well, again, if you like this episode, share it with someone who's working toward a goal, right?
Yes, and please don't forget to subscribe to Beyond the Classroom.
Natural English
So thank you, and I will see you next time. So remember, keep learning, keep growing, and remember as well that natural English.
is empowering people. Thank you
So
so
thank
much.
Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. So thank you,
Bye
and
bye.